Hi friends, welcome back. We are going to keep reading Leon and the Spitting Image by Alan Kurzweil. Remember, I don't own the copyright to this book. We're just reading it out loud together for educational purposes. So the last time we read, it is the day of the final carnival, and that means there's going to be fun and games, but there's also going to be the final inspection of the masterpieces. So let's see what happens next when we pick up with chapter 26, The Joust. As soon as Mr. Groot finished up, the fourth graders zipped toward the gym like 18 arrows loosed from the longbow of a champion archer. The whole class was keen to see what Coach Kasparidis had planned for the tournament joust. The coach did not disappoint his fans. He met them wearing a suit of armor cobbled together from an old athletic gear. An ancient football helmet, embellished by a feather duster, just like the one Maria used at the hotel, covered his head. A catcher's chest protector served as a breastplate. Around his neck he wore a clay jester's head whistle he had purchased at the museum gift shop the day of the field trip. One of his hands gripped a gleaming shield, which looked suspiciously like the lid of a metal garbage can. The other hand, covered by a pitcher's mitt, grasped a pink foam lance, more typically found around swimming pools. "Settle down and listen up, lords and ladies in assorted rabble," the coach shouted through the face guard of his helmet. "We've got a lot of ground to cover." "Looks like you're covering a lot of ground all by yourself," PW yelled. "Knock it off," the coach said with a chuckle. "You know my rules, no teasing, no taunting, no trash talk." After the laughs died away, he said, "Though it pains me to tell you this, I've been informed by a certain so-called expert that dodgeball didn't exist in the Middle Ages." Boos filled the gym. "Boo!" "Not to worry," said the coach. "We'll be doing something almost as exciting. Does anyone know what that might be?" "Jousting!" everyone screamed. The coach's helmet bobbed up and down. "Now, before we begin, let's see if you know your stuff. Who can tell me the difference between a joust of peace and a joust of war?" PW's hand shot up. "Go for it," said the coach. "In a joust of war, the lance gets sharpened to a super deadly point. A joust of peace is a lot tamer. It's about skill, not death." "And which kind of joust do you think I've planned for you guys?" the coach asked. "A joust of peace!" the class screamed. "Bullseye," said the coach. He set down lance and shield and went into his office. Through the blinds, everyone could see him pull off the helmet and mitt. While the coach was busy filling his pickle jar with spit, Lumpkin taunted Leon. "Hey, Sir Pantyhose, too bad it's not a joust of war." "Just ignore him," Lily-Matisse said. "I'm not worried," said Leon. "He'll get his joust of war back in class." The coach reemerged, dragging the pommel horse. Cheers and laughs erupted as the horse came into view. It had a papier-mâché head fitted to one end and a purple tail attached to the other. A coat of chainmail made from the tops of soda cans protected the areas in between. "Mom did that too," Lily-Matisse told her friends. "No kidding," said PW. The coach set the horse in the middle of the gym and arranged some floor mats around it. "Listen up," he said. "The way the Joust of Peace works is like this. I'll be calling out your names, in pairs. The first name starts out as a rider. Second name gets to be the lancer. After 60 seconds, rider and lancer swap places. The scoring is simple. Only lancers earn points. If the lancer hits the rider's shield, that's 2 points. If the lancer knocks the rider off the mount, that's immediate victory. However, if I see the lance hitting anywhere other than the shield, that's immediate disqualification. Everyone understand what I've said so far?" "Yes!" the class shouted. "Good. The joust requires me to modify the Kasparidis Code of Conduct. Specifically, that means no thrusting, no trampling, no pummeling, no decapitations, no looting, no marauding, no mayhem, and no bloodshed. I don't want cranky-hanky complaining about staying late to clean your guts off the floor mats. And just so we're clear, none of those weapons you guys are holding can be used on the field of battle. All daggers and swords are to be left in the bleachers." "What about soup spoons?" PW called out. Everyone laughed but Lumpkin. "One last thing," said the coach. "You've heard it before, but I'll say it again. No teasing, no taunting, no trash talk of any kind." With that, the coach tooted his jester's head whistle and began the tournament joust. The foam flew fast and furious as lancers and riders took turns on the pommel horse. Leon handled himself quite well as a lancer. Matched against Thomas, he scored 6 points. But as a rider, Leon proved less accomplished. Distracted by thoughts of Lumpkin and Plan A, he let Thomas unseat him 20 seconds into the second half of the bout. Probably a good thing, Leon told himself as he watched the competition from the bleachers. It seemed unwise to risk life and limb, his own and the doll's, less than an hour before the classroom showdown. PW joined him in the spectators' gallery at the end of the first round. "I messed up against Antoinette," he grumbled. "I hit her stupid tiara." "Tough break," said Leon. "At least you'll avoid Lumpkin." "Yeah," said PW, "but I know someone who won't." "Who's that?" "Take a look," PW pointed. "Lily-Matisse is kicking royal rump." And it was true. Suited up for battle, Lily-Matisse proved to be a gifted jouster. Years of gymnastics training paid off unexpectedly. She ducked and rolled, tucked, arched, and jabbed her way into the second round, and the third, and the fourth. In fact, she made it all the way to the finals. Unfortunately, so did Henry Lumpkin. Jaspero versus Lumpkin started with Lily-Matisse in the saddle. She fended off a ferocious lance attack by digging in her heels and bending her body like a wind-blown blade of grass. For nearly 50 seconds, Lumpkin could not touch her shield. Then, just as the first half of the face-off was coming to an end, Lily-Matisse let down her guard. Lumpkin glanced the shield rim and scored 2 points. The coach blew his whistle. Rider and Lancer swapped places. It was now Lily-Matisse's turn to charge. Time and time again, she aimed her lance at the shield of her orange-haired opponent. Time and time again, she missed. Lumpkin wasn't so much seated on the horse as bolted on. "We've got to do something," PW said urgently. "I know," Leon replied, "but what?" With 15 seconds left in the match, Leon cupped his hands around his mouth and called out a word he was pretty sure avoided the coach's prohibition on trash talking. "Soup spoon!" Lumpkin turned toward the spectators' gallery. That was just the opening Lily-Matisse needed. She charged and with a gentle tap found the sweet spot on Lumpkin's shield. 2 points, the coach shouted. "All tied." "That's not fair," Lumpkin protested. Lily-Matisse spun around as her archenemy rose off his saddle to complain. She jabbed her lance tip hard into the dead center of his shield. Lumpkin crashed onto the gym mats with a thud. Over the shouts from the bleachers, the coach gave a blast on the jester's head whistle. Hear ye, he called out. "They didn't say hear ye in the Middle Ages," Antoinette said. Her quibble was instantly drowned out by cheers. The coach marched over to the pommel horse carrying a small trophy. After quieting everyone down, he said, "In recognition of her valor and victory in the tournament joust, I do bestow upon Lady Lily-Matisse the Casparidus Chalice of Champions." He handed her the chalice, which was actually a baseball trophy Mr. Groot had altered for the occasion. The shop instructor sawed off the bat and reattached it under the player's armpit so it looked like a lance. "Thanks," said Lily-Matisse. "And with the Casparidus Chalice of Champions comes the honor of assigning seats at the banquet," said the coach. "Thanks," she said again. "Way to go, Lily-Matisse," PW shouted. "You pulverized him." The coach leveled a harsh gaze at PW. "What was that?" he bellowed. Everyone, from beggar to queen, turned silent. "Repeat the word you just used," the coach demanded. "Pulverized?" PW said hesitantly. The coach shook his head with apparent disgust. "And what's the most important rule in the Casparidus Code of Conduct?" "No trash talk." "That's right. Do you think they even had trash talk in the Middle Ages?" "No," said PW nervously. "Well, you're wrong," said the coach, breaking into a big fat smile. "Hey, Queenie," he yelled to Antoinette, "since you're such a stickler about what people did and didn't say in medieval times, go grab those word lists off the bench and pass them around." Word lists? In gym? Groans and grumbles spread through the spectators' gallery. But the grumbles and groans turned to giggles and guffaws when the students got to look at the handouts. They read, barnacle, belch, blemish, buttock, carbuncle, clod, cockerel, crone, curd, drone, entrails, fetid, fool, hag, impudent, mongrel, pig, pimple, ruffian, scum, toad, toothless, turd, villain, vomit, wart, worm. Back in the Middle Ages, no tournament was complete without a fly-ting contest, the coach told them. "What's a fly-ting contest?" Antoinette asked. According to Mr. Rattles, excuse me, he's the one who made up the list, a fly-ting contest is an insult competition. The rules are simple. You guys have 2 minutes to come up with your best curse. You can use any word you want, as long as it's decent and medieval. The joust of peace was fierce. The joust of words was fiercer. Slurs and slights filled the gym, and in the end, it was PW who carried the day by stitching together a nickname that described Henry Lumpkin perfectly. He called the bully a pimple on the buttock of a toothless curd turd. Why did PW do something so obviously life-threatening? For the same reason Lily-Matisse had risked injury during the joust. Both felt confident that Leon and his masterpiece would protect them. Moments after the end of the insult competition, Mr. Hankey stuck his head through the double doors of the gym and clanged his bucket-sized bell. "Banquet time," he announced. "Get thee to the lunchroom." "You mean the feast hall," Antoinette corrected. Lily-Matisse installed herself at the head of the banquet table in a throne covered with recycled tinfoil. She set down the Casparidus Chalice of Champions and commanded Sir Leon and Master Dabandana to sit by her side. At Leon's suggestion, she exercised her special rights still further by exiling Lumpkin to the opposite end of the room. "Let's just hope that keeps him away until we get back to class," Leon said as he surveyed the table. It was decorated like a medieval kingdom, complete with a gingerbread castle and vegetable forests. The banquet menu included circles of onion and fingers of chicken and something called Solana tuberosa in modo crispus fricta, which looked promisingly like curly fries. Everyone was impressed. Well, almost everyone. They didn't have curly fries in medieval Europe, Antoinette said. They didn't have potatoes, period. Now that's a scary thought, said Lily-Matisse. A world without curly fries. Or mashed potatoes, said PW. Or potato chips, Leon exclaimed. PW grabbed a fistful of chicken. Still, I could get used to eating this way. Food tastes a lot better without forks. Or soup spoons, said Leon. He gazed toward the far end of the table. Where did Lumpkin go? PW shrugged. I'm sure we'll find out, said Lily-Matisse nervously. And she was right. 10 minutes before the end of the feast, after the fruit tarts and jellies had been served, after a jester had jested and a juggler had juggled, Leon felt a small tug. He looked under the table just in time to see Lumpkin crawling away. Yoo-hoo, Sir Pantyhose, said Lumpkin as he resurfaced at the far end of the table. Missing something? Leon reached for his pouch. It's gone, he cried. Lumpkin's got my masterpiece. Leon jumped up and raced toward the doll. Lily-Matisse and PW followed close behind. When they reached Lumpkin, he was tapping his soup spoon against the pouch like a musician playing the triangle. Tap, tap, tap. Give it back, Lily-Matisse said. Lumpkin kept tapping. Tap, tap, tap. Clink. Lumpkin raised a brow. Leon tried to grab for the pouch, but Lumpkin fended him off with a vicious swipe. The soup spoon caught the back of Leon's hand. Now, Sir Pantyhose. None of that. Lumpkin tucked the spoon under his arm, opened the pouch, and dumped the contents. Doll and juice bottle tumbled out onto the banquet table. Leon watched helplessly as Lumpkin brought the bottle to eye level and inspected the murky liquid inside. What's this? Mead, PW said quickly. What? It's a kind of medieval drink, said Lily-Matisse. Very tasty. Lumpkin unscrewed the bottle and took a sniff. Leon wasn't sure what to do. Much as he would have loved to see Henry Lumpkin drink teacher spit, it didn't make sense to waste the powerful potion. Lumpkin brought the jar to his lips. That's not mead, Antoinette shouted seconds before he was going to take a swallow. It's not clear enough to be mead. Lumpkin put down the jar and scowled, then turned his attention to the other item that had fallen from the pouch. Well, he said, looking straight into the eyes of the doll. So we meet again. Please, Leon cried. Lumpkin ignored him. What was I going to do with you? He said to the masterpiece. Oh, that's right. He brought his hand back. Stop! Cried Leon. Lumpkin hurled the masterpiece. It flew over the banquet table with such force it knocked a sugar cone roof off the north tower of the gingerbread castle and kept on going. It hit a stack of trays and kept on going. It ricocheted off a wall and kept on going. It only ended its flight after it glanced off the side of a salad bar and dropped into a garbage can. Hank the tank for two, Lumpkin shouted boastfully. Leon raced over to the crash site and retrieved his masterpiece. Lily-Matisse and PW arrived 2 seconds later. The wig, Leon cried. It's missing. Where the hairpiece should have been, there was now only a sparse Velcro stubble. Leon rooted through the garbage can while Lily-Matisse and PW searched for the wig along the doll's flight path. Found it, Lily-Matisse yelled, emerging triumphantly from behind a stack of trays. She handed Leon the hairpiece. He reattached it and gave the doll a once-over. The clothing was a little rumpled, but otherwise everything seemed okay. Then Leon straightened out the cape. Oh no, he blurted out. What's wrong now? Said Lily-Matisse. Look, Leon cried. He pulled back the cape to expose the doll's legs. PW and Lily-Matisse understood at once the severity of the situation. The force of impact had ripped through the doll's pantyhose and opened a seam on one of her legs. And leg seams, all three knew, was where Miss Hagmeyer usually conducted the stitch counts that determined whether Animails passed or failed. So, our next chapter is called Final Inspection, so I'm going to leave you at a little place of suspense. But tomorrow, we will pick back up and we will see if Leon's Animail passes or fails, and if he has to repeat 4th grade. So I'll see you guys then.